Welcome to this week's crypto news and announcements from topmarketcoins. At the spot of this week overview, we go ahead with the ongoing war in Ukraine, the global food crisis arise, a response from topmarketcoins, the rising of FARMALAND, farmatoken and its benefits, Russian oil and gas for BTC, how investors react to recent announcements of the Russian government, what will be the impact for the world of crypto and will it affect the world global food crisis? CEO of Blackrock's letter to shareholder urging adopting of the digital currencies, next chapter of restrictions and bans in the world of crypto, how the world's largest centralized exchanges respond, more restrictions on crypto imposed by Coinbase. News 1. War in Ukraine could plunge world into food shortages. With far less Ukrainian and Russian grain and fertilizer entering global markets, experts fear that a bleak period of scarcer, pricier food will arrive this year. With the conflict dragging on and the start of planting season just a week away, the agricultural time bomb is ticking even louder. Some 26 countries around the world get more than half of their wheat from Russia and Ukraine, says Arif Hussein, chief economist at the UN World Food Program. If this war doesn't get sorted out in a couple of weeks, things will get even worse, Hussein says. That means Ukraine will not be able to plant corn. The winter wheat in the ground will not be fertilized and harvest sharply reduced. That's a real danger. They are a country of 40 million people, but they produce food for 400 million. That's the reality of a globalized world. We're all in this together. A locked-up breadbasket. Over the past decade, Ukraine, long known as the breadbasket of Europe, has become an agricultural powerhouse for much of the developing world. Better seeds, new equipment, and better agronomy combined with massive investment by companies like Cargill, Bunge, and Glencore in grain handling, infrastructure, and oilseed crush plants in Black Sea ports have more than doubled Ukraine's exports since 2012. The earlier crisis sparked international food riots, toppled governments in Madagascar and Haiti, and ignited the Arab Spring uprisings in the Middle East. The world is even more volatile today, says Hussein, whose agency last year fed 128 million people, the most in its 60-year history. In 2008, we didn't have COVID, he says. We didn't have war in Yemen or Syria or in Ethiopia or northeast Nigeria. Because of COVID, governments are tapped out. Debt levels are as high as they've ever been in many poor countries. Inflation is at record levels. Even before Ukraine was invaded, food prices were at a 10-year high and fuel prices were at 7-year highs. You add job losses and income losses combined with high prices, people are getting squeezed from both sides. This crisis couldn't have come at a worse time. The WFP is planning to feed a record 140 million people this year, including more than 3 million displaced Ukrainians, as well as some 44 million others in 28 countries teetering on the brink of famine. Many of those nations depend on grain imports from the Ukraine. These include Yemen, Afghanistan, Syria, Ethiopia, and nearly a dozen other countries in the Middle East and Africa. To make matters worse, WFP's costs spiked after the invasion, rising by $71 million per month and creating a $10 billion shortfall for the coming year. It forced them to start rationing food supplies to the people who need it most. A bigger threat looms. Currently, some 13.5 million tons of wheat and 16 million tons of corn from last year's harvest in Ukraine and Russia are stuck because of the war and sanctions. Some of that shortfall could be made up with higher exports from Australia or India, both of which had bumper wheat crops last year. But it's the fate of this year's crop in Ukraine that has economists worried. We're not just losing 6 million tons of grain from last year's harvest in Ukraine, says David Laborde, a senior analyst at the International Food Policy Research Institute in Washington, D.C., but potentially 60 million tons. Losing the next harvest will be a critical short that no one will be able to make up. And that's not even the biggest potential problem, he says. Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus all export vast quantities of nitrogen and potassium fertilizers around the globe. The biggest threat the food system is facing is the disruption of the fertilizer trade, Laborde says. Wheat will impact a few countries. The fertilizer issue can impact every farmer everywhere in the world and cause declines in the production of all food, not just wheat. The grain market is tighter than in 2008 or 2013, says Arnaud Petit, executive director of the International Grains Council. Because of the high demand from growing populations and changing diets, we are not expecting any rebuilding of stocks over the next 5 years, so any climate shocks or conflict will have an impact. All of which makes a good harvest in the rest of the world all the more important. What we can't afford right now is a major drought in Kazakhstan, Europe, or Argentina, says IFPRI's Laborde. Markets will explode. I don't want to paint a bleak picture. If the planet will be generous to this year, we should be okay. But a bad shock right now could bring us to the verge of a major food crisis. News 2. As a response to the emerging global food crisis, topmarketcoins is particularly glad to present to your attention a token with direct connection of the food market, connecting farmers, corporations, and regular consumers, and introducing the blockchain adopting it. Just a few days ago, we welcomed FARMALAND, the farmatoken. It has immediately gained traders' interest. FARMALAND, the token that brings to light the food at our table, providing complex solutions from the field to the table, farm flexibility, farm management, monitoring and evaluation solution, supply chain management for food products. Created on blockchain with the ability to use all the resources of the technology for tangible benefits, the main challenge to achieve creating a connection between technology with feasible business models in compelling instances. In simple terms, blockchain must be able to reduce time and cost, as well as move agriculture forward, creating new areas of value. If we can get beyond the hype and instead improve our business practices, the future of agriculture is blockchain and cryptocurrency. Track pharma price at topmarketcoins 24/7. News 3. Russia's energy chief says it would accept Bitcoin for oil and gas. The heavily sanctioned country is scrambling to find ways to increase its revenue and has floated the possibility of allowing China and Turkey to pay for energy in Bitcoin. The Russian Federation's energy chief, Pavel Zavlani, has floated the possibility of accepting Bitcoin as payment for its oil and gas from friendly countries such as China and Turkey. He said that those countries could begin paying for energy in Russian rubles, Chinese yuan, Turkish lira, or even Bitcoin rather than the international standard US dollar. According to Russian news media RBC, chairman of the State Duma Committee on Energy, Zavlani, stated at a Thursday press conference that he and representatives from China and Turkey have been discussing changes to preferred settlement currencies for its biggest export. We have been proposing to China for a long time to switch to settlements in national currencies of rubles and yuan. With Turkey, it will be lira and rubles. The set of currencies can be different, and this is normal practice. If there are bitcoins, we will trade bitcoins. He further stated that unfriendly countries could pay for their oil in rubles or gold. However, it's not clear whether Russia can change the terms of existing contracts with countries that pay in euros or US dollars. Twitter. Russia has been exploring ways it can circumvent international economic sanctions levied for invading Ukraine. Russian banks have been removed from the SWIFT system to prevent them from settling cross-border payments, and most businesses have been prohibited from dealing with Russia except for oil and gas trading. Energy is the single most important commodity that Russia exports and is a key energy source in Europe and other countries, which have found it will be difficult to replace. According to Reuters, the oil and gas trade provided $119 billion in revenue for Russia in 2021. Including electricity, kerosene, coal, and natural gas, the energy trade accounted for 53.8% of Russia's total $388.4 billion in 2021 exports, according to Russia Briefing. The crypto market appears to have reacted positively to the news of an expanded international use case for BTC. Bitcoin is up 2.5% over the past day and is now approaching 30-day highs, trading at $43,917 according to CoinGecko. This just confirms the statement made by Blackrock executive made on Thursday to become reality sooner than expected. CEO of Blackrock, Larry Fink, the world's largest asset manager, could be watching his prediction of a new digital payment system come to fruition before his eyes. Fink wrote in a Thursday letter to shareholders that global political instability could pave the way for nations to adopt digital currencies as international settlement tools. And let's not forget that the first Bitcoin international trade operation of wheat from Russia to Turkey had happened 4 years ago, and this just confirms the finance world has completely changed. News 4. Digital currencies could get a boost from the international crisis. BlackRock CEO. BlackRock's CEO believes the current crisis, added with growing inflation, would lead to the formation of a global digital payment network. Larry Fink, the CEO of the world's largest asset manager BlackRock, believes the ongoing Russia-Ukraine crisis has boosted the case for digital currencies as a tool for settlement for international transactions. In a letter to shareholders, Fink noted that the ongoing war would force nations to reassess their currency dependencies, which eventually could make the way for a global digital payment network, reported Reuters. He said the war has put an end to the globalization forces at work over the past 30 years. Fink's observation about the boost in the digital currency market is quite spot on, as trade sanctions on Russia have already led many countries that import oil and gas from there to look for alternate payment networks beyond centralized SWIFT. India is reportedly developing a direct INR payment gateway to buy energy supplies, while discussing about a digital payment network is also on the rise. A global digital payment system, thoughtfully designed, can enhance the settlement of international transactions while reducing the risk of money laundering and corruption, Fink said. According to rumors, Ripple partner, the clearinghouse, is in talks with Wells Fargo to develop a SWIFT alternative. Russian local Bitcoin trading volume has also registered a spike in March after seeing a constant decline over the past year. That said, prior to the Ukraine invasion, the country was looking to regulate the cryptocurrency market positively. Ukraine, on the other hand, legalized cryptocurrencies on March 16, 2022, after receiving millions in crypto aid from around the world. The war-torn nation has already received over $100 million in crypto donations, which they've used to reinforce their army and buy supplies. Cryptocurrency over the years has proven to be a great hedge against troubled times, but with the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, it's become a prominent tool for international settlements and sending out quick relief. As cryptocurrencies are facing more and more adoption, other regulators just can't keep their hands off regulating assets. On the list this week, Coinbase. News 5. Coinbase to require recipient information for crypto transfers from users in Canada, Singapore, and Japan. Customers in those countries who send crypto outside their Coinbase account must provide recipients' names, addresses, and in some cases, additional information as early as April. Cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase Global, Coin, will soon require its customers in Canada, Japan, and Singapore who send cryptocurrency to another financial institution or exchange to provide the name, address, and in the case of Japan, the destination wallet of the recipient. Coinbase has been sending notices to its customers in those countries that the changes will take effect in early April in order to comply with local travel rules in those places. Coinbase didn't immediately respond to requests for additional comments on the moves, but confirmed that they were taking place. The move does not seem to be going over well with Coinbase customers in those countries who value the anonymity of transactions using cryptocurrency. According to an FAQ provided by Coinbase for Canadian users, sending more than 1,000 CAD or $798 in crypto to a financial entity or other crypto exchange will require the name and address of the recipient. This will take effect starting April 4th. Coinbase cited FinTrack rules as reason for the change. For users in Singapore, all crypto transfers from a Coinbase user's exchange wallet to an outside address will require the recipient's full name and country of residence. This will take effect on April 1st, with Coinbase citing local Singaporean regulations. And in Japan, all transfers of crypto assets to recipients outside of Japan must include the recipient's name, address, and destination wallet, according to the English translation of rules established by the Japan Cryptocurrency Trading Association. This will take effect on April 1st. topmarketcoins stands against such regulations and reminds its users that our priority is users' privacy and their right to use the blockchain with the freedom of transactions and beyond centralized control of the government and institutions. And that's all for our weekly crypto review on Top Market Coins. If you enjoy it, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, like button, and ring the bell for notifications.